we get into the reasons behind our motivation for doing things, as opposed to just what we're supposed to do. And so the topic I have today is why I got up. And if you're visiting here today, you're like, well, I'd hope you got up this morning, right? I do have an annoying alarm clock that I've had for about 12 years. It does the trick. I put it across the room, you know, I can't have one of those nice sounds near the bed. I just hit it and turn it off. But that has nothing to do with the topic of what I'm going to be talking about. So I do encourage you, if you are visiting here today or not familiar with the concept, Frank preached about it last week. He preached about it during our anniversary service. And he showed a very vivid picture of a boxer in a boxing ring getting knocked down by a hard punch. And equating that to kind of where we've been in the relaunching of our church and it being our 3rd year anniversary. And so, you know, to be knocked down, you know, is very painful. I know that's very simple to say, but it's very painful. I played college football. I played football from about the 6th grade all the way up through college. And one thing that would always be, that I always have to be prepared for was that every time I stepped on the field, there's a couple things I always had to wrap my brain around. One, it could be the last time I ever played football. Because at any moment you can have a season-ending injury. Or a lifelong injury, right? And at any moment, I could be knocked down. So I played linebacker, which is one of the most aggressive positions on the field. You're always involved in contact. You're always involved in hitting people. And your mission is to go knock other people down. But while you're trying to knock other people down, they're coming for you as well. And even when you're giving your best effort, and even when you're doing exactly what your coach told you to do, sometimes you just get blindsided. Sometimes you just get hit, and you get hit so hard, it's hard to get up. And, you know, my body is kind of like a walking memorial to all those collisions. You know, I've suffered different back pain and nerve problems for the last 19 years. I've had several concussions before they became popular in a nationwide epidemic, where they used to just send you right back in the game. Right? Broken bones, fractures. And this was all a part of playing the game. So I had a lot of experience with getting knocked down, especially my freshman year at Ohio State. My freshman year at Ohio State, I was just a young guy just trying to earn some respect, and I was playing against people that would play in the NFL. And so I definitely had a lot of experience with that. And I had a coach tell me once, and this is something Frank reaffirmed with me a few weeks ago when we were talking about our congregation, is that you're never as good as you think, and you're never as bad as you think, even when you get knocked down. So what happened is that last summer, we lost India's grandmother. She's known as Gigi. She passed away. And that was kind of the beginning of a series of events that were very challenging for our family and challenging for me personally. So instead of summer vacations, we were more so taking like mission trips to places, you know, to try and encourage and to try to serve. Around September, I lost about, I'd say at least 40% of the strength in my left leg. And that happened while I was just trying to do what the doctors had told me to do to get better. I literally just stepped in a pool one day, and because I stepped in that pool, I started losing strength in my back. It was just the way I stepped. To the point where I went to the doctor, and they were trying to do the basic exercise with me, and I'm a grown man, and they're crying with the doctor moving my leg around. So then I went through the journey of medicine to kind of deal with that, right? Nobody knew really what to do. They're like, let's try this, let's try that. And you get put on stuff that makes you feel different. You know, affects how you feel, affects everything about you. You know, because they're trying to deal with problems they don't know how to affect. And then about 2 months after that, all of a sudden lose hearing in my left ear, and I get vertigo. And I get taken to the emergency room, and then I see a doctor after that, and I'm literally, Frank's picking me up from the hospital, and you know, I'm telling him how the doctor told me I may never get my hearing back in my left ear. I lost, 60% of the hearing on my left ear? It would later be diagnosed as Meniere's disease. And you're probably shaking your head, what in the world is that? I had to figure that out myself. I had no idea either, right? So I'm like, I get all the creative stuff, right? It's like I get Meniere's disease, and that's diagnosed later on down, but I'm like, don't I have enough physical problems already? I'm going to throw another one on top of that? So in the process of them diagnosing that, I lost my hearing and had problems with my hearing off and on between October and then all the way through January. And then, of course, our lovely nephew, Jai, went through his challenges. And so we started to see his health decline in the summer, then throughout the fall. We went down on a trip where we saw him one last time, eventually before he passed away. And then as a family, we had to come to grips. My wife had to come to grips with someone who was like a son to her. My daughter, someone who was like a brother to her. His time being done on earth. Right? And we had to come to grips with all these losses. And I'm on my way back, and one of the people I worked with for 7 years at Winona High School, and then I went to his funeral. And so you add to that, even Frank's hit on his health. Because Frank covers a lot of ground with the church and leading the church, but more than that, he's just a good friend. His health was down. I had people at work that were valuable to us at work that were going through a lot of family situations. So then you're trying to support them. And I'm sitting there and I'm feeling like from every single angle, I'm getting hit. And I'm trying to do what my coach is telling me to do. I'm trying to do what God is telling me to do. I'm trying just to play hard and keep it in front of me. And I just keep getting knocked down. So if you turn with me over to Psalm chapter 40, I'm going to share with you, why I got up. But I struggle with just saying that I got up because it wasn't by my grit and by my strength. It really has to do with the grace of God. It has to do with the community of support around me. It has to do with how people were compelled to love us during these times and help us. And in Psalm 40 it says, I waited patiently for the Lord. He turned to me and heard my cry. He lifted me out of the slimy pit, out of the mud and the mire. He set my feet on a rock and gave me a firm place to stand. He put a new song in my mouth and a hymn of praise to our God. Amen. Many will see and fear the Lord and put their trust in Him. Amen. So what God kept reminding me throughout this journey and all these challenges was really one key word, and it's just purpose. God has a purpose. Now this wasn't a purpose I identified within myself. This was a purpose that I saw that God was trying to remind me of. Amen. That there's a purpose for my suffering. That there's a purpose for everything that's happening around me. Yes. And He has a purpose for my life. Amen. And what He's allowing to happen around me. And so what I want to encourage you with is just those thoughts. That God has a purpose for everything that He's allowing to happen. Amen. And if we put our hope in Him and not in how we feel about how He's treating us, but put our hope and our loyalty in Him, He will do amazing things as He's always done. Amen. To God be the glory. Amen. At this time, we're going to say a prayer for contribution. And as they're passing the plates up, one thing that we just want to continually remind is that if you have a pledge,